Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the B303 Handheld Particle Accelerator mod, which is being made by user Nova Finch, and what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a fun new energy-based weapon which attempts to bring in handheld beam technology to the Commonwealth. And now I say attempted for this thing, as well, how it does the quote-unquote beam is a little bit awkward, but we'll talk a little bit more about that once we actually get to firing this thing over there. For now, though, the important part is it's still a really fun weapon, and I've been enjoying my time with it so far, which really shouldn't come as too much of a surprise considering I am a sucker for any energy-based weapon mods. I just love how Fallout does energy guns. It's cool. So then the question becomes, what does this mod actually give us? So let's take a look at the Pip-Boy and in our inventory here at the B303 Particle Pistol, which is a pretty nicely made custom gun here with custom sound assets, which should be fixed now and should be working perfectly fine. Now I'm playing in the 1.12 version of this that just released earlier today, as of the time of recording, of course, and that should have fixed all the audio issues, so moving forward you should be fine as well. But yes, a very nice gun that when you do get your hands on one with these standard modifications will do 25 physical damage, 30 energy, using the cryo cells as its ammo, and has a firing rate of 159, range of 227, accuracy of 85, and weight of 5. Now the interesting bit is the cryo cells here, as that's not typically you associate with a laser gun, and that is because of the lore-based reason for why this exists in the game. I love the little story that the mod maker created for this. Basically, the idea is that this is a prototype weapon from, of course, the pre-war era that was designed for clearing out rooms of any potentially hidden stealth enemies by using just a big particle beam to sweep through the room. And to maintain the beam, it has inside of the gun a fusion reactor that needs to be cooled with the cryo cells. So that's why we are using those as the quote-unquote ammo, and overall I think it's a fun little story for this thing, and actually is quite good at functioning as a tool for taking out stealth enemies. It's easy to pin them down with one of these things. It's quite nice. Now, as for the gun itself, it has a good deal of different modifications, of course the standard being a beam receiver and all these things here, but we can actually also make this thing into a more typical energy weapon by switching it up into a bolt receiver, which then just makes it function more or less like a standard laser pistol. But personally, I prefer the beam one because, well, the sustained beam does a crap load of damage. A whole lot of damage. So let's actually go and take a look at the weapon mods that we do have for this thing. And so now, yeah, as you can see, I have 3 versions of the gun in here with different modifications. And you'll also notice one of the bugs with this thing right now. No matter what the modification, they all have exactly the same name. Hopefully that'll get fixed in the future, because at the moment it's very difficult for me to tell which one of these is which without actually having to go into the inventory and hit X to see all the extra info for them. But let's jump into the standard gun here and take a look at the receivers first, where we have 8 different receivers, 4 of which for the beam weapon, where we have the standard beam, the charged beam, the Institute beam, which is pretty damaging, and an overcharged beam receiver. Now, all in all, the Institute beam is by far the most damaging thing that you can put on this gun, as that 25 physical and 65 energy damage, and with the firing rate of the beam, oh boy, it will kill most things pretty darn quickly. Now, besides the beam, we have the pulse receivers, which are the sort of, I guess, bolt slash pulse, whatever you want to call it, here, which will make it into a one-shot per trigger pool weapon. And we have the charge pulse, a standard pulse, and then we have 2 different pulse overchargers, one that does an institute pulse and one that is just basically another overcharged pulse right there. And that is the receiver, so just select which one you do desire. Then in barrels and grips, we only have the one, the B303 barrel or the B303 grip, and that is it. Now in the coolant section, we have the standard and then the improved cooling, which will just put basically more cryo cells into the magazine, so you can have a more sustained rate of fire, which is always good. And then in sights, well, we have only the one option, which is the reflex sight, which is fun though. That is quite entertaining. Now, one thing I actually do want to go back into the receivers for, because you may have noticed it when I was out here and showing off the different guns, that this one has a different exterior body, and that's because of the Institute version. Whenever you switch from a standard one to the Institute ones, it changes up the main body to a more whitish color and just a different metal texturing. So that is how you do get that slightly different look. And so yeah, that is the modifications for the gun. Let's actually go and fire it and talk about that quote-unquote beam. Now this is the standard version of the gun, quite a nice looking thing, of course with the nice reflex sight there. Again, hopefully we get some new scopes in the future. And with the standard version, we have 75 cryo cells in here, and I'm just gonna hold down the trigger and let the beam begin. Now, as you can see, the beam really effectively is just a really fast firing laser gun. It isn't actually a solid beam. As you can see, it remaking itself and creating little individual dots all over the place rather than a line. So that is how it is doing the quote-unquote beam. It's basically just a laser pistol firing insanely fast. Faster, in fact, than the laser Gatling gun. But it creates effectively what you could consider a beam, as using this thing as its intended lore purpose to clear out a room is actually quite effective. You just walk into a room and start sweeping, and it's pretty much guaranteed to hit at least something in that room. And overall, I do enjoy it. And of course, the sound is pretty good there. Now, of course, we do have the Institute one. There we go. Let's take a look at the Institute beam, which, as you can see, does change the body of the gun there and is a lot more powerful. And let's just take a look at this one. There we go, same sort of sound, same sort of firing rate to it, just really changed the color of the beam and made it, of course, a lot more powerful. And with that improved coolant cell in there, oh yeah, we got a lot of coolant to use. And then, of course, finally, we have the... Yes, this is the Pulse one. There we are. Again, because of the naming, it's kind of hard to go back and forth between them. But with the Pulse one, it's simply functions like a normal laser pistol, though of course with the fun new sound. And that is pretty fun. I do actually enjoy that. It's, I don't know, it feels more like a proper laser sound than what we do have in the game, of the whole boom sort of a thing that we do get, which is nice. I do definitely enjoy that. But let's switch back to the Institute version because, well, we've fired the guns, we've looked at the modifications, and we've talked about them. You know what that means, dog meat. It's time to go kill Will. And with this beam pistol, it should be quite quick, though I'm wondering about the range. I really haven't used this thing much at range so far. Every time I've fired it has been pretty close quarters. So let's see just from the riverbank here what it does. Yeah, really? No, oh, nope, there he goes. If I could actually hit him, it would kill him insanely quickly. Let's go and get that Radstag too. This should take care of him pretty nicely in a few seconds. Actually, not even a few seconds. Should be less than. Oh yeah, there it goes. Yeah, so with this thing and its firing rate being what it is, it will crank out a crap load of damage. In fact, it may very well be one of the most powerful weapons in the game, just because of the insanely quick firing rate of this thing. And you know what? That's fun. So yeah, if you would like to check this mod out for yourself, and I would definitely suggest to go and do that, you can take a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for this episode. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for our next win. Hopefully we'll be looking at another wonderful mod. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one!